Today we are very happy to have a guest speaker who has been at the forefront of the car design industry for over 20 years and who has a lot of accolades under his belt. So I guess we'll hear a lot today about what makes a good car and good car design. So help me give a very enthusiastic welcome to Mr. Alejandro Mesonero-Romanos, Director Designer of SEAT.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome to all of you this afternoon. I'm going to take you to my own vision of what is car design, what are the cars actually, what is a car, and then also an example of how we, in the business, how we design a car. First of all, just a few words very briefly about myself. I was born in Madrid, the little yellow dot that you see in the map. I soon began my passion for cars. I don't know exactly to tell you why, but since I was like 11 years old, I was sketching cars. Most of my teachers, they used to kick me out of the class because I was drawing cars in the history books. But this is what it happened. And then I decided to go to Barcelona to study industrial design, which is a very good first step for car designers. After that, feeling that I wanted really to design cars, I decided to apply for the Royal College of Art, where I spent 2 of the best years of my life. It was really good fun, good friends still in the car industry from that time. And then when I finished, I got a job in SEAT. So it was kind of my first love, the company. I was working in SEAT for a few years, then moved to a design center that is called DCE, Design Center Europe, in a village near Barcelona, where we used to work. It doesn't exist anymore, it was part of the Volkswagen design group. So I was working for all brands of the group for 4 or 5 years. Then I wanted really to move around. I think this is very important also for a designer. And then I got an offer to go to Renault, to Paris, brilliant city. I went to Renault for 2 years, and at the end I stayed, I think, 8 years. I like it very much. In Renault I had different positions. At the end, what I was doing was taking care of the advanced design for 3 years. Before I was transferred to Renault Samsung Motors in Korea, where I took care of the design studio that is working for common projects between Renault, Nissan, and also Renault Samsung Motors cars. At that time, I had a good offer to go back to SEAT by Walter de Silva. It was a proposal that I couldn't refuse, even if I like to work around the world. But I came back to SEAT. And then it's been now 3 years, around 3 years. So this is more or less it. Very important for designers to be able to move around and to experience different cultures. This is one of the best things that my career has offered to me. So I strongly recommend to do something on this matter. What do I do as a design chief, as a design manager? As I was explaining before in the briefing, I have like 2 sides of myself. One part is the management of the creativity of the designers, and the other part, a little bit less pleasant, but here obviously you understand it's a joke, is the business part. In the creativity or management of the creativity in the studio, what I do is first of all to organize the briefings with the designers, very important, because this is where we are starting to do a project. If I send the designers in the wrong direction, sooner or later they will crash. So the briefing is very important. I try to make them happy, because happy designers design beautiful cars. And then I also make sure that whatever they design sticks to the strategy of the brand. We are there not to please ourselves as designers. We are there to provide work for the company, and the company has to earn money to pay us, among other things. The business part is, as I say, it's a joke. but I have to defend the interest of design in the company. And you can understand that in a car company, the economical issues and the regulations, all the industrial constraints, etc., they are very, very strong. I find myself very often to defend the design with the executive committee, fighting for cents of a euro or for millimeters here and there to make a beautiful car. And this is also, even if it's the less funny part of my job, but it's necessary, because I should make sure that what we have designed goes to production as we have planned it, as we have designed it, and it doesn't get washed out through the process of the 4 years that takes to bring a car from scratch to the production. In our design studio, we are in Barcelona. I don't think I mentioned it. We have around 120 people, 50 of them designers. The rest of them, they are CAD modelers and clay modelers. To me, design, or the product itself, the car itself, it's based, the work we do is based in three legs, let's say. It's like a chair with 3 legs. One is the designers, the other one is the CAD, and the other one is the clay modeling. So the people who imagine the ideas, the people who make the ideas in virtual, and also, after the clay modelers, the people who produces in 3D these objects with their hands. If one of the legs breaks, the chair falls. So I don't give more importance to designers than to clay modelers or CAD modelers. They are excellent people, very creative, and I need in my team people who are creative in the 3 legs. I have plenty of people who studied design, and then finally, because life, they are doing as CAD modelers or clay modelers, and they are earning very well their money, and then they are very important for the team. So design has other, let's say, ways out more than designing itself. Sorry, I have to drink water because I was ill this week, and I cannot talk very well. The rest is management people, logistics, and so on, to keep alive this big design center. But the biggest asset is, without a doubt, the team, the designers. Here you have our designers. Obviously, now they're looking a little bit older, but their characters, it sticks very much to what the photo shows. These are the real designers of our team. And it's funny because you can see some of them that they are posing already very proud in front of a car. I am there, I'm not going to tell you who I am, but I am already with a car, and I am, I think, like 3 years old. So, I was proud somehow. We are not alone in SEAT. We are part of the Volkswagen Group design concern. So we are part of the family of all these brands that you see here. Each brand has their own personality, their own chief designer, but above all, we have a boss, which is Walter de Silva. He is the real architect of the design for the whole group. These are all the other designers. I think I am there. We are a nice bunch of people, I think. We are 12. We are 12 brands. We meet very often amongst us, not just to have fun, which we do, by the way, but also to discuss about our projects. I invite them to see my cars, so they see, they criticize, they are very hard on me, and then I can go also to Lamborghini or Bentley and give them a hard time. And this is nice because at the end, by constructive critique, you help to raise the level of the final product. To me, this is one of the best assets of the Volkswagen Group. We have very different brands. We all use the same process. We all have the same setup. In fact, the designers, we are changing positions very often. And this is great to be part of this family. Today, I would like to talk to you about 3 things, basically. Car culture, it's a very personal view. It's not very corporate, what I'm going to show you. But we are in a design school. I had fun preparing the presentation, I can tell you. Sometimes I have to be too corporate. Today I have to be corporate, of course, but you are students, and I can show you things which are a little bit different. So I will talk about car culture, about car designers, what I think, what I know, or yeah, in my opinion, and then I will also explain you how do we design a car, obviously in a very compact mode. First of all, car culture. Today, we have lots of bad news on cars. We know that the cars pollute, they produce traffic congestion, and also, unfortunately, they provoke deaths. We know that, but I can tell you that manufacturers, we are working very hard in each one of those, let's say, bad points of cars today to solve the problems. We have cars which pollute less and less. Today, a car from, let's say, from today, it pollutes 1/3 of a car in the 60s. So it's amazing. It's a big progress. The size of the cars getting not necessarily smaller, even if we have very compact cars, but the ratio between the interior roominess and the outside envelope is getting really, really very good. And we are working really hard to reduce the death or the casualties of pedestrians with the design of the front ends, with very hard legislation on that makes our work very, very hard today. But we are also, running on that. But cars are not that. Just not only that. If this was the case, you wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here. Cars are much more, are about all these things. Cars are very complex in terms of psychology and in the society. They are not machines to move our bodies from A to B. That would be too easy. It's something much more complex. The first thing and the most important thing in a car is the notion of mobility. This has been inherent of people since the beginning of the times. In the prehistory, people used to walk. After we got in a horse. After the horse, we put a carriage behind the horse. Then the horse disappeared. We put an engine. The carriage becomes a car. And this is our short history in a little bit more than 100 years. But the main thing is mobility, to be able to move from A to B. This is fundamental. All our existence today is based on that. And I really believe that the fact that, or the need to move yourself wherever you want, whenever you want, individually, without having to rely on public transport, so you can be independent, like the guy with the horse, this will remain. That's why in the briefing of the project I gave you, I was talking about individual mobility, how to reinvent that, to take all the bad parts of the car, but to keep the good points, which is, or the main point is mobility, how you move yourself. Technology will help us to do that. Obviously cars, and this is a beautiful Seat 850 from 1968. Cars are not only a means of transport. It's much more, since especially the mid-20s when Harley Earl opened the first design studio as we know it today in General Motors. At that time, in 1927, they realized that cars were not just some objects to transport people by putting things together, put the people inside and move. They realized that design was very influential for selling cars. And it was very influential in the way people behave in cities by looking at the cars. They became part of our landscape. This was 1927. This is yesterday. I mean, it's nothing. In terms of the global history, this is very recent, but has been developed in a very strong way. They are a way of self-expression. When you buy a car, you are somehow saying a lot of things about yourself. The same as when you buy a suit or a watch or whatever you buy. Cars are also about the capacity to perform. It's like, then again, it's very primitive what I'm going to say, but is this, I would say, this way to handle the animal somehow, like the horse, to be able to handle the machine, to feel the performance, to be able to move fast. This is something that is also very, I don't know why, but it's very much into us. You take a little child, you put it on your arms, you move it quickly, you move him quickly, and he will be smiling immediately. Don't know why, but we love speed, we love movement. Affection towards the object is very important. Talk to your friends. I'm sure, I mean, you can see that in the magazines, everything, everywhere. People talk and people have an opinion about cars, even if sometimes they are negative opinions, but everyone has an opinion about a car. I'm sure it doesn't happen the same when you talk about fridges or washer machines. There are no magazines about washer machines. Cars really wake up emotions and opinions. They are part of our lives. A lot of people, I show you my team, we like to be photographed with a car because it's an object that is only not an object to move, but it's a sculpture. It's a sculpture in movement. It's a shape. It has a face. It has spirit. Cars also allow us to move place. This also comes from very deep inside ourselves. We like the notion of moving space. This is quite fascinating. People try to stay in the same place for, I would say in the same room, in the same garden, in the same place for days, for weeks, and you become nervous. You have to move. You have to occupy different spaces. You have to see different things. Cars allow us to do that. Color, very important. This affects us psychologically in a very strong way. The colors are a very important factor when we design cars, as much as the shape. In fact, as a synthesis, we can say that there is still, even if cars, they have negative sides today, they still produce emotions, they still produce envy to have a car, to drive a car, to sit inside, to touch, to smell, everything. Just a small video to show from the point of view of SEAT how all these ideas they get together. It was recorded in Barcelona, in our town, and there is a street where I live. Car designers. There is a lot of myth on car designers, or in general about designers. This is more or less what people think. It depends from which window you look at it. But probably the reality, it's a mixture of all that. There is a little bit of everything, including the last one on the bottom of the right, sometimes. But the main thing is that the designer, and I speak in general as a designer, the first thing, or our USP, our unique selling point, will be that we have to create vision. We have to be able to understand in which world we live, understand what is not right, what can we do better, and then our ability, we have to have the ability to transform that, to project that into the future. When we're talking about cars, we're talking about 5, 6 years. Maybe sometimes it depends which kind of work you do, a little bit longer, but we have to project ourselves all the time. Fashion designers is maybe 1 year. It depends also the work you're doing, but always we have to think about, okay, this is like that, but what about if we do like this? And always trying to improve, always push the envelope as much as we can. So vision is very important, but action, also how you do it, the methodology of how you get to your vision is, I would say, also very, very important. In SEAT, one of the things I would say also in the whole group, in the whole Volkswagen group, but at SEAT, one of the characteristics of our people is that we are very passionate about what we do. We believe in what we do. I think this is essential in life, to make sure that you really believe and you understand what you do and you push yourself. This is the only way. It's like the sportsmen. They really know what they do and then they push. This is the same, but it can be applied to designers. If you think that you can do something else in life, my recommendation is do it. Do it, because here, especially for what I know, car designers is extremely competitive. It's very demanding and sometimes very frustrating, and then you have to really have a strong passion to make it. A part of the vision of the designers, I also think that we have to be very responsible for different reasons. The first one is that we are creating things, objects that have to live on the street, that will be part of our landscape every day. When we open the windows, we see cars on the street, so we have to make sure that the products are nice. I think there is a social responsibility. They have to be useful, they have to be nice. Also, we are responsible somehow because we are playing in a very expensive playground where we are building an object that has more than 10,000 parts that have to fit together. If something doesn't work because the designer was not doing properly his work, or the engineer, it could cause a big, big problem. Look at all the recalls from companies like Toyota, that they have to call 10,000 cars back to the factory because they have a problem. Sometimes it's the fault of the engineer, sometimes it could be the fault of a designer. And this takes me to the last point, which is the responsibility that we have, or I have personally, of the life of people working in the company. We are around 10,000 families in SEAT. If we design a car that is a flop, if it doesn't work because people don't like it, the car might not sell. And in a small company like SEAT, that produces 5, 6 cars, it could really drown the whole company down. So I really think, obviously the designers not so much, the people on my team, but I really have this responsibility. So I take it very seriously. When I think about the designer, I have 9 rules. I tried to match it to 10 because it looks nicer, but it didn't work, so it's only 9, sorry. 9 rules that I try to apply myself. It's like my credo somehow. I try to apply myself, and also when I hire a designer, I try to see if, I tick the boxes and see what I can. I try to visualize if this guy or this girl is going to fit in these rules, in these parameters. Just by looking portfolios, I can already make a very close judgment. So they are very personal. This is my point of view. They are not necessarily in the right order, but they are all true, I think. The first thing is that you have to have a beginner's mind, very humble. You have to question everything. This is what I was telling you before. Question everything. I was talking to some of you now with the project, dashboards on your cars for the project. Why do you need dashboards? Don't draw dashboards if you don't know if you need them. In a car for 2035, probably you don't. So you have to question yourself all the time why things are like they are, and also why they cannot be another way. The first time, the engineers or the other people will say, wow, we need a dashboard because the car has a dashboard. Okay, yes, but you can probably, with your common sense and your intelligence, you can demonstrate that probably you don't. And by the way, not always the case, but you can save money by doing that. So always question everything. Very important, I think, for everything in life, not just designing. Try to set up yourself a target. Because if not, you might be lucky and you might land where you expected or where you think, but sometimes, chance, it doesn't happen like that, and sometimes you can crash. So it's like a road. You can have some bends, of course, and you will try to negotiate the bends as much as you can, but you have to have the target very easy, otherwise you get lost. So try to set up a target. Then again, to the guys I was talking before, what is your target? First thing. And then you try to develop your ideas. Even if you fail, you can explain your target very easily. And then next time, maybe you do it right. But if you have no target, you just do things by chance, it's not a good thing for a designer, I think. The sense of exploration is very important. If you fear to fail, then you probably will fail. It's like driving. If you point in your eyes in a curve, you negotiate in a bend, you put your eye there, you're going to end up there. So don't be fearful. Try to explore, especially in the beginning of the project. Try to open your mind. It doesn't mind if the guy beside just laughs or thinks this is bullshit, this doesn't work, Try. Cars today wouldn't be like they are if we didn't have crazy people like this poor guy that probably ended up dying on the beach because he was trying this kind of, I don't know what it is, but it looks very funny. But he was happy. He had his target. He's going straight. So try to explore. This is also an open discussion. For me, art or design is not art. It's part, or design has a strong part of art, of artistic skills, but the difference with design is that it has to fulfill a purpose. It has to have a real utility. It can be emotional utility. I mean, don't get me wrong. An object, even if it's a dead object, if it fulfills my envy to touch, to see it, or just by the presence of the object, it's already an utility. So it's nice, but probably most of the objects, they are more complex. They have to have a function and so on. So to me, this is a good example, this photo of something that probably doesn't have a part of the advertising, a strong utility. Breaking the rules. This is important. This is also some commentary that was in the group before. Do we have to be very futuristic in the project, or we have to be very conservative? It doesn't matter. But if you have your target, it's fine. And then to break the rules, to be futuristic, between quotation marks, you have to make sure that you know the rules. So that you break the rules knowing which are the rules. Otherwise, then again, you can get lost. First of all, you need to have to draw in order to draw like a Picasso after, where he was doing things like that, boom, finish. People say, I can do that. Yeah, but what you don't know is that Picasso is able to draw a portrait with a perfect realism. But he was not interested about that. He was interested about more abstraction. So know the rules, get as much information as you can about the rules, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to decide to break the rules here and there because this or this reason, but not without control, because otherwise it becomes freehand. Very dangerous also. Me Too player, avoid it, of course. I mean, design is it's an added value to the product. It's also a sales argument. If you are designing things which are already done, honestly, there is no point. There is no point because no one is going to choose you. We have to make sure that people like us, what we do, but also, and more important, that they choose us. Because if they just like it, it's not good either. They have to really say, wow, I want that. That's beautiful. I like it. I love it. And then they ask for the price or whatever. But first of all, you have to gain the heart of the customer. Also, then again, I don't know if there are some people about, marketing people here, but I am not very confident in studies and, the people needs that. I think that a designer can have all this information, marketing, that is, by the concept, is always looking on the rear view mirror. They're playing with the data from today or from yesterday. We have to use it because this is experience, this is valuable, but where we can play in a very strong way, it's in our vision in the future. Probably if they ask to someone in the past, okay, now we are doing a car. A car has 4 wheels and inside space, whatever. At the time of the carriage, they probably would have designed something like that, a horse with a car behind. You don't need that. You don't need the horse anymore. This is the kind of thinking that you have to have always. Try to advance the thinking. Whenever you have a problem, or whenever I have a problem that I cannot solve, I try to turn it upside down. By doing this, sometimes I still don't find the solution, but sometimes by targeting the right point in the project, you turn it upside down, and then you say, okay, this was a problem, but finally, by association of ideas with something else, you find the solution. Then again, it's a question of working. A lot of journalists ask me, where do you get your inspiration? And because they think that I sit down in the table like you, and then light comes from the sky and inspire me, and then, oh, I have an idea. And that's it. Wonderful. Money. No, it doesn't work like that. It comes from turning upside down ideas. If it doesn't work, paper out another time. Don't desperate. I used to think, or I like to think, that ideas are floating here on the space, and all our job is to try to visualize them, take them and use them, because nothing exists, or we cannot, honestly, I think we cannot create anything from scratch, from completely innovative, it doesn't exist before, something completely new out of anything. No. All what we do is by existing things, by association of existing things. In the right combination, they can give, the result can be a product that is very innovative. So try to be very, very curious, like the sponge I showed you. We have to get all the things we can get from everywhere. I do it. I walk on the city of Barcelona. I see the people, how they use things, how they use the car, how they act in a shop, how they buy food, whatever. All the things get into me, of course, fashion shows, whatever. And all these things that comes by curiosity, by your eye, which is very important, curiosity for a designer. All these things come to my brain. And then by association, somehow, I get the creativity. This is my inspiration, just observing, be curious. And then not relaxing, never relax. The fact that something works today, it doesn't mean that it's going to be working tomorrow. We are, whenever we launch a car, we are working already in the next one. So we are non-stopping. We launched the new Leon, and I'm working already in the new one. of course, has to be ready in some years, but it takes time to do them. Always try to renew yourself and never stop. Good. So this is about the designers, my thinking about the designers. How do we design cars? Sorry, there's some. Yeah, okay. Design in a car company, it's the vehicle, let's say, or the tool that permits to connect the brand values. So what we are, we are not deciding these designers. This is already set up in the company, what the company stands for, and how the brand, how the company is perceived by the people. This is where design plays a very important role. We are not creating that. We can help, of course, but we are not on that. But we are very important for the perception. This is where design today is very important. Everyone thinks, or today, I would say, people don't know, the clients, you don't know, if an Audi is better mechanically than a Seat, or a Kia than an Audi. Very few people really know, in terms of quality, performance, what is better, what is best. In fact, I can tell you, you will be surprised sometimes by some things. But the design, of course, the design makes the brand, so the brand is very important, but the design can affect how you look at objects. We try to do for instance, just an example, we try to design the seat metal in our cars in order that it looks dynamic, it looks very emotional, but also that it looks thicker, that looks thick, solid, robust, like the seat metal is thicker than in our competitors. By this, the people, by looking at the car, they think the car is robust. And probably the material thickness is the same than our competitors. So this is very important. This is why design has a very strong role in the company. Just a small, for your information, a little bit how I think the client acts when buy a product, a car. I think it's also probably true for other products. In the case of the car, of the automobile, of the cars, the first thing that people think is about the three things that they think about in the first place, are the price, the brand, the design. It depends of the segment. You think first in price, then brand, then design, or first design, brand, price, whatever. It depends very much. But these three things are already what will determine the, let's say, the first interest about of a customer. So these three aspects will bring the customer to will help the customer to build the first basket of maybe 8 cars from 8 possibilities. 8 possibilities will be decided by that. Then there is the basic trade-off that we say, where the client goes a little bit more in depth, and then he knows more about the product, and then he can trade some of the stuff. He says, okay, it has less equipment, but it's very nice, or it has very nice color, but whatever. And then at the end, they go into the in the really small features, or maybe the performance, or whatever. What is the message on this slide? I don't want to get you bored. But the message is that, then again, the design is very important, and is one of the criteria that help us to sell cars. And the design makes the brand also. And the brand defines the design. So it's a little bit a circle. In case of Seat, we have, this is our, let's say, our master wheel. This is our heart. This is our philosophy. We are a brand that produces dynamic, or that is defined by dynamism, by design-driven, and by yearn-spirited. When we say dynamic, it's something that is, it's a brand that is moving. It's, we are offering products, we are moving constantly, we are changing our design from time to time in order to make it alive. We are challenging because we also address our brand to people who are young-spirited. Not young people necessarily, but people who wants to feel young, who wants to have emotions, who wants to experience these little things that make our lives happier. And of course, design-driven, because we want to seduce the first time to the clients. I think that cars are a matter of I like it, I don't like it. If you have to approach in a more rational way the purchase of a car, okay, there are brands who play with that, but it's not a good way. We have to inspire emotion. We have to, let's say, provoke this wow effect where people say, wow, you know, I want that. And then he gets all the rest of the information. This is an approach that we are playing very hard in SEAT, especially from the new Leon that we launched last year. Now, you know, the role of the designers is how to apply these features into a car. For me, the car has to be able to look like these values. It has to look agile. If our brand core is to be agile and dynamic, it has to look agile. That's why we have shapes which fade out. You know, from here, it fades out towards the end to give this notion of tension, this notion of speed. It has to be seductive, and the seduction comes, first of all, because of the proportions. And we have, in the case of the Leon, a car which is fantastically proportioned and also challenging. So it has to have some features which are fresh and new to be preferred by the customer. Our design organization is very simple. It works like most of the companies. We have the 3 creative pillars, which are exterior design, interior design, and color and trim. And these 40 designers I explained you before. And then we have 2 transversal teams that work with all the teams, the clay modeling and the CAD modeling. And then management, we try to make sure that all this works. My job as a design manager is to make sure that everyone can do their job. Not to do the job of everyone, it will be very tiring, and I'm a very lazy person. But to make sure that all this works and rolls, and everyone is happy. Just a small video, a short video, to show you this design process that I will explain you more in detail later on.
Realmente creo que esto nos puede ofrecer la máxima calidad y perfección en cada uno de los detalles.
Tenemos que trabajar con colores y materiales que provocan emociones, ¿no?
Exacto, la tensión es muy importante para darle carácter y dinamismo al vehículo. Buscábamos perfección, carácter, dinamismo y emoción. Y estoy convencido de que lo hemos conseguido.
SEAT.
So, thank you. So this 4 minutes or 3 minutes, it resumes like 3 years. It's 1 minute per year. It's very complex, but it's good fun, honestly. How do we do it? First of all, the briefing. The briefing is very important, and then, as I said before, we have to target the designers. We have to push the designers in the right direction. Basically, I give the briefing to the 3 teams, exterior, interior, and color and trim. And they start working on the first ideas. Here it's very important that they are not afraid of putting anything on the paper. In fact, I'm not very obstructive when they design like that. I just watch at night when they have left, because I don't want to close any door too quickly. I want the people to draw freely, to express their ideas for the first, I would say, first weeks. Just with the exterior designer that takes a look with them, but I'm not very focused on this, because I really want to, then again, to explore all the alternatives. And funnily enough, when I take a look to this, most of the time I pick small sketch that had something very interesting, you know, and the designer was not so sure about that, and probably he picked another design. But this is very important, because this is really where the fresh ideas come out. Whenever we picked a design and then the guy starts to draw this idea to develop, sometimes it gets stiff, it gets really stiff. And then we have to come back to the original sketch where he thought that no one was going to look at it, and then he's free. You know? That's why I don't have fear, because most of the ideas, they come whenever no one is looking at you. So very important phase. And the advantage is that you can do it anywhere. I sketch all the time, in the plane, in the restaurant, you know, wherever, small sketch, whatever. It can be a very nice idea after. This is where I intervene more, is in the individual creative work, when the designer, once we have done the selection of the first ideas, the designers start working and developing what it has been chosen. What is very important for me is also that if we have, let's say, 6 designers working in competition for a new car, that I have 6 different possibilities of 6 different directions for this car. So I try to push them in different directions, but obviously with the same target. So it's like finding different ways in a labyrinth to get to the same target. It's not that we have 6 different targets. The target is the same, but the interpretation is different. So I try to push each one of them, because sometimes they kind of get influenced one by the other, and then get the same idea at the end. So I try to push them different ways. It is the most interesting part, when the designer is developing their own ideas. This was, I show you, I think, some sketches of the ST, how we came to the ST. Obviously, to be able to draw for a car designer is very important. Not just to make nice paperwork on the walls, because this is good, but because it's a way to express their thinking on the paper. So knowing how to draw, it helps a lot. But I have had some people in the past that were not very skillful in drawing, but they had very good ideas. So I prefer that than the opposite. People who has the ability or the skills to draw, but has no ideas behind. We go into the smallest detail. when we design a car. My target is that when a client discovers or sees for the first time a car, he sits, he opens something, or he touches something, and then he says, wow, they even thought on that. The small details are really important, and this can produce this reaction to want it, to buy it. Especially in women, you're extremely, how would I say, demanding on details, and we have a very important part of our customers are women, so we try to make details, especially in the interior, very tasteful. Any part of the car has to be designed. Obviously, whenever we have access to new technology, like in our new Leon, we have full LED headlamps. We are the only ones in this segment that offers full LED. Normally, it's a technology that is being offered today in big cars like Audi A8 or BMW X5, but we are the only ones that have this. And this is thanks to the work of the engineers with the designers together to find solutions which are cheaper, but that they have no impact on the client or on the quality of the product. So this is another recommendation, or I try to apply this to myself. I don't see the engineers as the enemy. Sometimes we fight a lot, but if you work properly with engineering, it's a good way to get good design. So technology and design works together. Every time that design makes a strong step, it's because there is a good technique behind or a good engineering idea behind. After we've done all the sketches, which can take, with all the different presentations and all that, which can take months, 2-3 months, we go through the digital. So it's very important also that the designer works together with the CAD modeler that needs to be also creative in order to work as a tandem to express what it was on the paper or in the head of the designer into the 3D model in the screen. If you fail there, you can have very nice sketch. If you don't put it right on the proportions and on the screen, your project will fail, in our case. This is a very fascinating process, just to show you some of the status, but it's very complex, but it's fantastic. It allows us to go very fast because we can produce more virtual models at a very cheap price compared to the old process where when I started nearly 20 years ago in the business, we used to do tape drawings on the wall and then take some sections, and then the guys, the clay modelers, used to take the sections with wood and then apply into the clay model and then drag the sections. I mean, it was so slow. In only a few years, we are able to go directly from the sketch into virtual, and then the machine, like you saw on the film, mills the model, and then you have the model. So if you go fast, you can do a model, let's say 2 weeks for drawing, just a model, not the final design of a car, but 2 weeks for drawing, maybe 3 weeks for modeling in CAD, 1 week for milling. I'm very bad in mathematics, but I think it's 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, you can have a car full size here, from the sketch to the model, 4 weeks. This is amazing. It's really fast. So we produce a lot of models like that, just proportion models, thanks to the virtual. And we at the Volkswagen Group, we are one of the strongest companies, or one of the companies that use more the virtual, as I told you, in order to go faster, but also to save money, because all the physical models cost a lot of money. I don't know if you are used to European currency, but in euro, a model can cost like 300,000 euros, which is a lot. And then this is one of the tools we use for our internal work. It's just a turntable. This is virtual. So we produced, last year, I think it was 400 videos like this. of our designs, where we can check, without the need to build a physical mock-up, we can check already lots of things. We can check the proportions, we can check the reflections, lots of stuff without the need to produce a physical mock-up, a physical model. So this also allows the designers to see their sketches in reality, even if it's virtual reality, much more often than in the past. It's a great tool. We have lots of videos, different comparisons with other cars in real environments and so on. Then once we have the virtual, we go into the physical, because virtual is really hard to judge in the proportions, the surfaces, and so on. So whenever we have the mathematical model, we mill it with a machine. The modelers, they do the work by hand to adjust all the lines. We put these tapes that you can see here. They are Scotch tapes. We put them, the designers, where we want the modeler to work the line. So lower the line, raise it up. We put the tapes on the car, and then the guy goes and works on it. These models are, just for your information, they are done, behind this model, there is a metal structure with some foam, and then we apply this clay. We call it clay modeling. It's like a plastiline that we have in our ovens. We have in ovens at 60 degrees. They are like soft. You take it out of the oven, you apply on the model by hand, and then it gets hard as wood. And then you work it with the tools. So it's pure sculpture. I told you, car is sculpture in movement. Lots of discussions also with the feasibility, because we are able to map the surface, and then we communicate the surfaces to the engineering, and there are continuous feedback between the engineering and ourselves for feasibility, because we have obviously a package to respect, we have hard points to respect. It's not free form at all. We have to pass by many points which are fixed by regulation, crash test, as I told you before, but also platform issues or economical, let's say, points. So it's quite complex. But this is also one of the most fun parts of our job, is whenever the designer has the physical mock-up there in clay, he realizes that the car, is getting shape. And then we work on it. We spend 2 hours in our patio. We have a place where we can see the car with natural light, and then we play with the tapes, and it's great. It's really good fun. This was one of the early models of the ST. You can see how the model has evolved from the first mill model till the final car. This was what we call the design freeze, so more or less where the car is already, the design is more or less fixed, but there is a lot of work still and refinement to make the car feasible and easy to produce. You can see on this one still the number plate was on the upper side. Finally, the number plate came down, and also the rocker panel is not the final one, but the basic shape, the basic layout is already there. This line disappeared, and so on. And then at the end, you have the product, the final result. A bit more precisely about the exterior design. I believe that the success of any car comes by the proportion. The biggest thing is the proportion. It's like the shape of a person. The first thing that you see, that you realize of a person, it's the proportion. If the person is tall, is short, thin, fat, whatever, that's the first thing that defines the character of a person, of a car, I believe of any object. But this is what you perceive, let's say, in the distance. Like in the case of a car, this is what you perceive when you are like 200 meters away, proportion. Then, as you get closer, you see more the surfaces. You see more how the surfaces are shining or in the shadow, and then this helps to define the volume of the car. And then, as you get closer, you see more the lines, how the car is designed graphically with the lines. But if you get the proportions right in the car, then you have already a big part of the success of the car achieved. So I work a lot to make sure that the proportions, the platforms, the technical package, the skeleton of the human body is right. If you have to make a nice custom for a hunchback guy, it's going to be hard. You can be very good making customs, but if there is a big hunchback on the rear, tricky. So first you have to chop off the hunchback and then make the suit that it fits to the skeleton. A lot of discussions, a lot of meetings, a lot of fights to get the proportions right. If I go to the most easy part, let's say, which are the lines, I was commenting outside when we saw the cars, I get very much inspired by the human body, not for any particular reason, but because I think that there are some parallelism. For instance, the face. The face of a car, as I explained to you before, to me, it's the face of a person. You have the eyes, you have all the ingredients, the architectural ingredients, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. You try to do the exercise, or yourself or the cars outside, and try to stick a human face to a front end of a car. You will see that you will find parallelisms. You can take a few faces, and try to find the car that fits to this face. And it's amazing. There are cars, like people that are sad, that are aggressive, that are sleeping face. You find everything. With the cars, it's the same. So the first thing I try to set up on the briefing to the designers is I talk about the face of this car. This car, in the case of the Leon, had to be the face of someone that has character, that is not aggressive, but it has to have the face of a person who knows what it wants, what he wants. Someone with intelligence, focused, looking into the future, into what is coming next. Not sad, not sleepy, not weird, not aggressive, but someone focused. Also, the attitude is very important. And when we play with the on the attitude, for instance, here we play with this notion of stability. So in this case, we wanted to make sure that the car looks like someone that is that is standing still, but with the legs slightly open, giving the impression of stability. If I close my legs, I look more unstable. So the stability, it was good, like an athlete just to start running. The tension, all the lines, they have to be like in the maximal tension, like really ready to break. These blisters that we have, they look like they have been stretched into the seat metal, and they are just like an arch, ready to go forward. Also the shoulders. Shoulders are very important to give this strength. When you see the car from behind, it has to have certain strength. With interior design, we basically follow the same process with the first ideas, with the ideas that are selected from this brainstorming of sketches. It's a different profession somehow because they have to take in mind lots of functional problems, lots of little parts that they have to fit together all, and so on. So it's a specific kind of business. Also, they have to play with trims, with the seats, with foams, with comfort, with ergonomics. So it's somehow a science by itself. But we follow the same process. We go into physics after the virtual, where we can check if the car feels good, if all the controls are available, and so on. We play with different alternatives, different designs, until the final car is produced, is the car that we have chosen, the design that we have chosen. For what we call the design criteria of the interior of SEAT, we wanted something that is driver-oriented. It's this kind of egoism, very Mediterranean. We are egoist. I buy the car, I reward myself with something that is turning around me. This is what we do in SEAT. We also take care of the ergonomics, the horizontality, not the verticality, so your eyes don't go farther or down to the lower part of the car. You have to focus that you are driving, and you want everything up there, not the screen down. The horizontality also breaks the mass. We want to make the car, remember the exterior, the car has to be agile from the exterior, but also from the interior we want a car that is not heavy looking. It has to be thin and wide. And very precise in the details. Like a watch, everything has to be nicely precise, nicely put together, so the guy, when he sees the car, he says, well, you know, I'm paying money, but I get value for my money. Everything has been put together like a jewel. Everything has been put together with the right level of quality. There is nothing more horrible to me than getting inside the car and then start seeing that the chrome frame is a little bit sticking out and things like that. This will never happen in our cars. We are really obsessed about the quality. So we do the design of the car, but obviously, for us, this is not the job is not finished. The president asked, when I arrived, asked me to take care also, or keep an eye in all what is concerned about the image of the car. So the design, of course, this is my core business, but also in the way we are communicating the car, the product is very important. We have done the car, we have to make sure that everything is coherent. So we participate in the elaboration of the brochures themselves. So this is the brochure that you can find in any SEAT dealer, and this time even the designers, we are there. But we make sure that the photos are nice, the angles, the lighting, the global atmosphere, to make a coherent image. If we design a beautiful car and then we sell it like fried potatoes, it's not gonna, the image that arrives to the client is bad. So all of our work is going to be washed out. So we really keep an eye, and as a communication colleague here, we are very heavy on them to make sure that the car, or the way we communicate, is the way we design the car. Also in the motor shows, we take part in all the elaboration, the fabrication of the motor show, even the dresses, which is good fun. We design the dresses of the hostess. We are not fashion designers, but we can, then again, since we are designers, we can create things different. Also the architecture of the stand, even choosing the music for the stand. Since we are a little bit short, I believe, right? Short on time, I'm gonna pass over the next video to make it shorter. And just for the last thing, we also contribute in the brainstorming and the execution of the advertising. Because this is the way, then again, I insist, this is what the client gets, the advertising. So you're gonna see 3 advertisements of the Leon, the 3-door, the 5-door first, the 3-door, I think, and then the ST. And I believe, I hope that you feel this coherence of what I'm saying on the advertising. If it works. Oops. Maybe passing to the second. No problem, I can go manually.
Call
So this car, because it's the 5-door, we wanted to create or to reflect this emotion of the first time that your dad brings a new car into the house. It's the dreaming of the child that has a beautiful object, beautiful toy, but when he sees the car, he says, okay, forget it, this is rubbish. I mean, I like that. This dream, this is what we wanted to represent with this advertising. You are going to see like the 3-door.
Now when I was a little boy, at the age of 5, I had something in my pocket. Keeps a lot of folks alive. Now I'm a man. We can have a lot of fun. I'm a man. Still am. Hey. The new Seat Leon SE.
Seat.
So a car should be enjoyable. It's very important, and the SE, which is the coupe, it should give this impression of this envy of having one, of owning one.
Son, I got up early to go cycling. The new Seat Leon ST.
Seat.
And that's a family car. It's quite obvious. And I think, dear colleagues, that that's all. So this is more or less how we built a family of cars with a lot of passion, with a lot of professionalism, but especially what I think that you got it. The important thing is to have fun in what you do, and this is essential to have nice car at the end. Thank you very much.
Our students, product design students, are actually doing a project with SEAT, and they'll be devising a concept car. Alejandro, maybe you can just say a couple of words about that. That'd be nice.
About the briefing? Yeah. So the briefing we are giving to the students is to take in account what I said in the beginning, mobility. Cars, they are very criticized today, or not criticized, but there are bad aspects in the cars today. But one thing will be sure is that in the future we will still need to move ourselves around the city, around between cities, or so on. So the mobility is going to be there. I don't believe a second that public transport is going to solve everything, because the first thing that we want is to be able to move whenever we want, wherever we want. Remember the first slide. This is a need that I'm sure that even people who hate cars have. Even people who criticize cars today drive a car or gets into a car. So it's up to you, young generations, to imagine how the car will be in 2035, for instance, which is like 3 generations far from now. So the Leon, the next 3 Leons are the 4th. But it's not the Leon that I want you to design. It's a car very simple for the city, especially because this is where we have most of the problems because of the congestion, the pollution, and then the size, you know. So try to imagine a vehicle. I don't call it even a car, and it's intentional. Try to imagine a vehicle, 2035, move yourself, maximum 2 people, move around the city, question everything, everything is possible. The only thing I ask you is that it has to be covered, so it's not a motorcycle. The rest is up to you. Wherever you have the possibility of creating by criticizing. So criticize yourself, criticize the car, and then create something yourself. This is the best way.
Yeah, well, there you have it. We have time for, like, say, 3 or 4 questions. So if everyone wants a question, there we go.
You said you have one of the rules were to turn the problem upside down. What do you mean by like turning it upside down?
Just an example so you understand easily. You remember downstairs we were talking about dashboards. I could see a few dashboards and you break your head how to design a dashboard. 2035. Why are you designing a dashboard? Instead of putting all your energy in designing a dashboard, think how why a dashboard exists today and why or if they are going to exist in 2035. Personally, first thing I do when I arrive to my car, is to take my phone, put some music, leave my phone, and that's it. And then, I have navigation, which is just a screen. I don't care what is behind. This is all what I want. And then I see the combimeter and I drive. Today we have dashboards because we have the climate control, because we have the CD, which no one uses anymore. All these things. So all this is going to fly. We even have a bar that goes from one side to the other of the car to stiffen the car. But all this is going to disappear. This is weight. This is useless technology. People cannot see. So the added value is very little. So when you design your new car, turn the problem upside down. And instead of, again, I repeat myself, putting your energy in designing a nice dashboard because you're going to do styling, think about what do you really need to drive. Probably, it's my feeling, the only thing we will need to drive in a small vehicle in 2035 is an object. I don't even call it a phone, but an object that you will put it there. It will be navigation, but just by voice. It will be your radio. It will be probably the combimeter of the car. It will have all the functions. And the air conditioning will be a little box that is wherever, small, that you can buy or not buy. So parallel thinking. Think about not bring the problems of today into tomorrow. Turn it upside down. Yeah?
More questions? Yep.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for a very interesting presentation. And my question is about design process. You said that nothing is perfect, but you have to find the moment when it's better to stop searching for something new. And how do you decide when the theme is found, when it's time to stop working with clay, and when it's the final design?
I listen now.
Sorry.
I understood. Thank you. Actually, in order to make sure that, I will try to find a nice explanation. In order to make sure that we have the car on the street at the right time, because this is planned in advance. So how it works is that the executive committee decides when they want to have a car. Let's say, imagine, I tell you now, 2018, right? To arrive for an SOP, which is a start of production, in 2018, we have a design process that we have to roll backwards, and that will tell us exactly when do we have to start. So everything is, I wouldn't say to the minute, but to the week. It's planified. I know that whenever I start a car, if I start today, I will have a series of milestones internally in SEAT, but also at with the Volkswagen Group executives, and then I will have to present the cars here or there. I have almost the final dates of the presentation. So everything is very, very compact. Why? Because what we want is that the design is as fresh as possible when the car goes out in the market. So we try to start the design of the car as late as possible, as close as possible as the start of production of the car. So everything is it's very much established already. So I have to make sure it's another of my roles than whenever we don't find ideas, because this is not mathematics. This design is not 2 + 2 equals 4. So whenever we are not having the right idea in the right moment, I have to involve myself a little bit more, or maybe ask another brand to work in a project for me, which is possible. We also work for other brands of the group, Lamborghini, Bentley, Bugatti, Skoda, Audi. So at the end, the idea comes. But yeah, so normally it works well.
We have 3 more quick questions from Twitter. So.
Yes, thank you for this workshop. That was really great and useful. If you don't mind, I will ask you some questions from Twitter, because people, when they understood that you are coming in Moscow, they asked a lot of questions, and this is 3 most popular. Yeah. If you could change something in previous design of SEAT, what would it be?
From the previous designs? Well, I think we are changing everything, because design, as I said, is dynamic. You have to change things, you have to evolve to make things. I think that with the new Leon, if you take the new Leon compared to the old one, it shows in a very graphic way what are we changing. We are, and it's not changing just by the sake of changing. What I'm trying to do is to take the good points, to take the DNA of what it has been done before, that is really nice, by the way, and just take it or push it. It's like a race, like how do you say that? Carrera de relevos in español. So you run, you give stick to someone else take it and runs. I see the design like that. It's not because a new chief designer arrives that, okay, I arrive now, everyone expects me to change everything. No. You have to take it, take the good parts, and then run and evolve them. So then again, take the old Leon and the new one, and you will see how the lines, they get a bit more tension. The dynamic line that it was dropping a little bit too much in the old car. It was good in the old car, but for the new one, I wanted to give it, to make it more horizontal, to make it more in the direction of the road, more tension. So we are giving more tension. We want to make cars to look more agile also. We're taking out some of the weight, visual weight of the cars in the past to make them to look more alight, more agile. This is very important.
Thanks. And second question is, if you haven't worked as a designer, what would you do?
A designer.
Okay.
No, seriously, even in the future, I hope I can do something else, because cars are really good fun. This is my passion. I love also classic cars. I enjoy it, but I love architecture. I like even fashion design. Doing the dresses for the hostess was really good fun. It was amazing, you know. Compared to 4 years to make a car, to make some dresses of course, I mean, probably with a lot of problems, but very quickly try them, and then in 4 weeks we had the dresses. It's fantastic. So I love yachts, boats. I would like to create something. Could be whatever, but especially things in movement. Trains, boats, trucks, motorbikes, but also buildings, yeah. But I'm not good enough for an architect. You have to know mathematics.
Thanks. And the last one, what challenges await young car designer?
I think that the challenge is also briefing of what I told you before. The challenge is how to make the car, or how to make the people to fall in love with cars again. This is the challenge we have. Cars were freedom in the beginning. When you read about the history, it was fantastic. Cars in the late 19th century, it was freedom for everyone. It was really fantastic. People loved them. Then it became a symbol of status in the 30s. Then very functional in the 50s after the war. Then an object, a ludic object in the 70s, where the families took their cars out for the countryside to enjoy a weekend. And now we arrive in a moment where we need to reinvent a little bit the cars. We need to get them more socially acceptable. And the design can play a strong role on it. Not just on the style, I'm not talking about that, but about this parallel thinking of putting the right questions to the technicians or also answering some question of the technicians in order to push the system. Sometimes we are the bad guys of the company, the designers. We are the people who are always asking the wrong questions sometimes and telling them, why do we need this and why do we do that? So we need to push in order to make the car more acceptable.
Right, thank you, Alexander. I'm sorry we're running out of time, so I have to thank Alejandro again, and that's it, I guess, for now. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.